What is going on, everybody? Kevin Walsh here, back in the studio. The 2016 NFL Draft is now 1 week away, and I'm here giving you my second mock draft. Now, what I need you guys to do at the end of the video is please comment down below if you prefer me to do all of the first round picks in one video, or if you like how I did it the first time where I broke it up. I think I did it every 5 picks. I made a new video. So please just comment that down below for me. I need that feedback just to see what you guys prefer. So today I am going to go through it 1 through 31. Gone over this a number of times. There is not a 30-second selection because the Patriots had their pick taken away from them. So let's just get right into it. Number 1, the LA Rams, they traded up with the Titans, and it's going to have to be a quarterback. There's no doubt about that, and I think it's going to be Jared Goff. The reports are that that's their guy. For me personally, I think that I'm a bit higher on Carson Wentz, but I think that both can be really good quarterbacks, and I think that Goff makes sense because I think when you look at it, Goff may be a bit more NFL ready right now, but Wentz may have the higher ceiling. And when you think about the Rams, this is not a traditional number 1 team who would pick first overall. They're 7-9. They traded up to this position, so they are a respectable starting quarterback away from making a deep playoff run potentially, a very good defense, a premier running back with Todd Gurley. So I think the more polished guy who's a bit more used to the spotlight coming from Cal, a high Division I program, I think Jared Goff is the pick at 1. Over at 2, the Philadelphia Eagles also trading up well before draft day to get that number 2 selection. Now, for me, I personally did not understand the reason why Philadelphia wanted a quarterback. They had just paid not only Sam Bradford, but Chase Daniels, this offseason. So it was really interesting to me. I thought at that 8th selection there was going to be a couple options for them to really improve their team. After listening to their GM yesterday, came out at the press release, it's going to definitely be a quarterback. And it just seems that they don't have faith in Sam Bradford being a long-term option. And they spoke about how, the next 2 years, the drafts don't seem as good as far as quarterbacks go. They also don't know when they're going to have the opportunity to be within the top 10 and trade up to be within the top 2. They didn't like the free agent market, so they clearly don't trust Bradford long-term. And due to the injury history, I guess you can understand that. But the interesting thing to keep an eye on is apparently Sam Bradford is extremely upset and may be willing to go elsewhere for less money, where perhaps his talent is a bit more valued. So pay a close attention to that. See if the Eagles perhaps move him. However, I think it's going to be a quarterback. You don't trade all those assets to move up 6 spots to pick anything other than a quarterback. It's Carson Wentz. I think that's the guy who Philadelphia wants as well, and I think that's why they were so willing to make that trade, because they're pretty sure that Goff will go 1. And they're hoping that they can actually sit Wentz for the entire first season and maybe even some of the second season, depending on how Bradford plays, and let him develop. Howie, their GM, spoke about Tom Brady and Rodgers, how they did not play right away, and there was a lot less pressure. Brady obviously was picked way late in the draft. Rodgers slipped a bit, was still a first rounder, but slipped a bit in that initial in that year's draft where he was selected. So going number 2 overall and likely not going to see any reps in the 2016 season is a bit tough, but the Eagles seem to really like this kid, and if it ends up working out for them where they can get themselves a franchise guy, which is a quarterback that they need a franchise QB. Haven't had one since Donovan McNabb, so if Wentz can be that guy, then in the end the move will look good. At 3, the San Diego Chargers, they're sitting there and they got to be happy about it, because if they were to be picking 1 overall, I think the people who would be on their draft board are the exact people who are going to be available. At no point would they be looking into quarterback with Phillip Rivers there. And I think there's 2 options. It's going to either be Jalen Ramsey or Laramie Tunsil, the 2 players that are probably 1 and 2 on a lot of people's big boards. And I think the pick is going to be Jalen Ramsey still. I did have Tunsil when it was the Titans making that pick on 1 overall, but I think that's just because protecting Mariota was a bit more important as he was younger and the injury history is a bit there. I think Ramsey's a bit more important because the Chargers need a defense to be able to, stop teams from scoring as much as it seems that they've been. And with losing Eric Weddle, I don't think you want to find out how just important and talented Eric Weddle was through his absence. Just acknowledge that he was a great player for your team, the best player in your secondary, but replace him with Jalen Ramsey. And if he doesn't even end up playing safety, could be playing corner. I think either way, I think Jalen Ramsey is a top talent, probably the best player in this draft. I think that I would maybe have him second had Jalen Smith been healthy, but due to those injury concerns, I don't know if you're going to see Smith picked within the first 2 days. You really have no idea what's going on with him. So I think Ramsey at 3 of the Chargers makes tons of sense. Pick 4, the Dallas Cowboys. Now, a team that had been rumored to, maybe they be looking at quarterback. You didn't know. I think a lot of Dallas Cowboys fans really would love to see Jalen Ramsey fall to them, and I think it's possible if the Chargers do go Laramie Tunsil, because that's still in play. However, I think if Ramsey's on the board, they still may pass up on him and go with Joey Bosa or DeForest Buckner. DeMarcus Lawrence now just received a 4-game suspension. I believe Randy Gregory already on a 4-game suspension. Though that's their 2 starting DNs because Greg Hardy is a free agent. Doesn't look like they're going to be signing him back. You need you're going to need defensive ends. For the first 4 games, if you're not able to get to the quarterback at all, that's going to be a real problem for your team. And Joey Bosa at one point was the undeniable consensus number 1 best player in this draft. Now, things have happened where Ramsey's jumped him and Tunsil's jumped him, and even people have Buckner as the better D lineman, but I think that Bosa's still kind of, outside of the 2 quarterbacks, I think he's kind of the star of the draft. I think he's the big name that everybody knows, and I think that he could be, a true impact guy, but I just think that it's a pick that Jerry Jones is going to love. The ability to bring in the most popular player while addressing a need, I think that Jones is going to jump on that opportunity, and I think he takes Bosa at 4. Now at 5, the Jaguars, I think it's going to be Miles Jack. Miles Jack is almost as tough as Jalen Smith to figure out because he is healthier at this point than Smith, but people don't know how long they can trust that knee. And if you see Miles Jack fall out of the top 10, it could be a huge fall because if those top 10 teams aren't going to take a chance, then those back-end teams are also probably going to be really scared of the knee because they're in a more of a win-now mode. Those teams that are picking, as you get later, you need impact guys right away because maybe you're a piece away for a Super Bowl as to where teams in the top of the draft have the ability to take a guy and maybe if he doesn't come through right away, year 1 can help them year 2 or 3 or down the line. But I still think that Miles Jack's a top 5 player in this draft. His ability to cover at the linebacker position is at an elite level. Has the ability to fly to the ball and make a huge impact on your defense. And I think that's what the Jaguars need. They have Paul Polzinski. I am butchering that last name, and I apologize, Jaguars fans. We're going to call him Paulie P, though, as their middle linebacker who's been the captain of that defense. But they've made a number of improvements on that defense. The Jaguars are going to be a team that's going from picking 5th overall to contending for their division. Make no mistake about it. And if Miles Jack can be healthy, that can really put this defense over the top. And it's also a reason why I'm going with this. When I do my mock drafts, it's not strictly based off what I believe. I follow the rumors heavily. I listen to a lot of these reporters and other big NFL draft scouts who are in contact with these teams to see what it seems. And it seems like the Jaguars love Jack, playing him at, potentially a safety type role just because of how good his coverage skills are. And I think that they really like this kid. And I think it's going to be Miles Jack to the Jaguars at 5. Now, pick 6, the Ravens. And it's pretty funny. When I did my first mock draft, the Ravens fans killed me for saying that they were going to take Ronnie Stanley. They said our O-line's not that bad. And, they said, wake up, kid. They take best player available. They do. It's going to be Buckner if he's on the board. There's just no way that they're going to take Stanley because the O-line is not as big of a need as you're making and all that stuff. Well, now here we are about a month removed from that initial mock draft, and the best player on the board is an offensive lineman, and I think that it's going to be Laramie Tunsil. But Ravens fans, I want to know what you think about that. Tunsil's on the board. He's probably best player available. Do you take him? Let me know what you think about that. And it's really simple. Forsett coming off season-ending injury. Same with Joe Flacco. You got to want to protect those guys. The offensive line, no matter what you say, it needs to be improved. And Tunsil might be the best player in this draft. He's a franchise left tackle. Can come in and help right away. can right away help this Baltimore Ravens team. That's another team that's going to be picking 6 this year that is looking to make a deep playoff run, and I think a guy like Laremy Tunsil can be great for them. At 7, San Francisco 49ers. I have DeForest Buckner going there. Now, they're in a bit of an interesting situation, the 49ers. A lot of people saw quarterback for a long time. Obviously, with quarterbacks on 1-2, I think Paxton Lynch is a stretch here, but at no point did I really see them going quarterback. You're paying Kaepernick tons of money to be on your roster this year. Give him a chance in Chip Kelly's system. Figure out if there's anything left there, and if not, then get rid of him the following season. Now, I think that they could potentially go offensive line, maybe look at Ronnie Stanley, but I think they should continue to strengthen their defensive line. I think that this is going to be a team that is continuously trying to add pieces. They are right now, as of right now, the front runners for Josh Norman. Okay? That's a huge addition to this team. Also, Muhammad Wilkerson, Jets defensive lineman, an absolute star, openly came out and said, I would love to play in San Francisco. Maybe I need a fresh start, wanting to get out of gangrene, as you see over there. I'm trying to wrongly point at it by figuring out the camera. But, so that could be an option. And they can really strengthen this line. And listen, let's just be real here. Chip's first pick is a 49er. Oregon Duck, yeah, I think it makes some sense. I understand it doesn't have anywhere near as much power as he did when he was in Philadelphia, but I feel like it's just almost too good to be true for him. I think that DeForest Buckner, though, is an absolute good. He's a great player. Buckner could go 3. Buckner really could go 3 to the Chargers. So to get him at 7, I think that could be wonderful for the 49ers as they try to get their defensive reputation back. It was not long ago where you had Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis and Aldon Smith just causing so much havoc for every single offense that they came up against. And I think that a guy like Buckner, along with some other moves that they seem to be making, could really help this team immediately. Now at 8, the Browns are selecting there. They've moved back and they got tons of option here. Now, also, don't be surprised if the Browns do not make this pick on draft day. They look like they're trying to move back continuously and just continue to get value for the picks that they have. So maybe a team covets Ezekiel Elliott and they want to move up to be in front of the Giants, who some people feel like might be taking him. So maybe that's possible. But I think if they do make this pick, I think they go Ronnie Stanley. I know they have Joe Thomas, but Stanley can play over on the right side, then eventually become your franchise left tackle. And looks like RG3 is probably going to be the starting quarterback. Yeah, definitely going to want to be protecting that man. You do not want him taking tons of hits. Obviously, the injury history for RG3 is quite extensive. So you're going to want to make sure that you protect him. And I think that Ronnie Stanley is not far behind Laremy Tunsil as the best offensive tackle in this draft class. So I think at 8, it's a great pick for the Browns. Pick 9. The Bucs. Now, this is a team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that are looking at Josh Norman. They have a lot of money, and that would be a phenomenal signing for them. But I don't know if it gets done. It seems like the 49ers are a team that they're the front runners right now, and it seems like there's also teams who are in a better position to win right away that are interested in him. We've heard the Patriots. We've heard the Jets are interested. And the Panthers apparently are also still open to a potential reunion, it looks like. So I don't know. I think the Bucs may get lost in the mix. But I think that'll be okay with them by taking Vernon Hargreaves, the third. Hargreaves, known as the best man-to-man corner in this draft. He's a shutdown type guy. They were able to get Brent Grimes this offseason. So that 1-2 combination, I think, can be really good for Tampa Bay as they continue to improve. This is a team that has tons of upside. Year 2 of Jameis Winston, I think it's only going to get better. I think his connection with Mike Evans is wonderful. Austin Seferian-Jenkins was a great tight end last year. Doug Martin was the second best running back in football as far as yards went. So there are tons of positives for this team. There's their defense also looks like it can be good. So I think the Bucs make this decision to take Vernon Hargreaves, who can definitely help them out right away. Maybe even be corner number 1 if they don't, if they want to lessen the responsibility of Brent Grimes, because Hargreaves can come in and compete for that number 1 job. And I think that'd be a great pick for them. Rounding out the top 10, Big Blue, New York Giants. This is an interesting one here, to be honest with you. I think that there's a lot of Giant fans that really want Myles Jack, and with good reason. However, I feel like it'd be interesting because if Jack made it to 10, I think that may say something about that knee and just how banged up it is potentially. So if he does make it to number 10, they could even potentially pass on him. However, I think that would be a mistake because I think Miles Jack. I think if the Giants were picking one, I think they go Miles Jack. Maybe they go Jalen Ramsey actually, maybe to play safety. Who knows? But I think that Miles Jack's way higher on the draft board. But if he makes it there, but I don't have him making it there. However, I think they can get another linebacker who can be just as impactful, and that's Darren Lee. After the combine, shot up draft boards, and when you watch the tape on Lee, he's just an impact player, and he's got the attitude that you need, I believe, to be successful in this league, and that is, I am the best player. I believe it was last year's draft, maybe 2 seasons ago, when Ryan Shazier was drafted by the Steelers, and going into that, Lee was making comments saying, I'm the linebacker from Ohio State that teams should want. And I don't think that's because he was a bad teammate. I don't think he was taking a shot at Shazier. Shazier's been really good for the Steelers, but Darren Lee just thinks that he is the best player at all times, all on the field. And you watch the kid play, you look at the athleticism, and I don't think there's really any reason for him, to not feel like that. And he definitely can be. The Giants' needs at linebacker, to me, are greater than those at running back. I don't think Rashad Jennings ever received a fair chance last year, and I really believe that he can be their starting running back, combined with Shane Vereen to handle the third down responsibilities. And Rashad Jennings can come out of the backfield and catch. Don't be confused. So as good as I think Ezekiel Elliott is, as much as I could see Ezekiel Elliott, being a top 5 pick, realistically, I guess would be 4, because I think the only team that maybe would be interested in would be the Cowboys, if they don't think Alfred Morris is enough. As good as I think Elliott is, I just think that there are positions where the Giants have greater needs, and I think that Darren Lee could come in and be great for Big Blue right away. Pick 11, the Chicago Bears, Jack Conklin, offensive tackle out of Michigan State. I think that the Bears are in a position where it's going to have to be offensive line. I think that ideally for them, Ronnie Stanley is available at 11. And honestly, you look at it, Stanley can be picked by every single team from 6 to 10. Say Tunzel goes 3, the Ravens have a chance to take him, so do the Niners, Browns and Bucks and Giants, all have a chance to take Stanley. So I don't know if he's going to be there, but I do think that Conklin will be there, and while I do think that he is a tier below Stanley, I think that he can be really good for them. And the key why I think that this move makes a lot of sense is making sure you can keep Kyle Long at guard, because it's almost like you get a 2-for-1 opportunity. By taking this tackle, you improve your guard and tackle position. So I think that it's going to be tackle. I think it's going to be Conklin, and I think it's just that simple. At pick 12, the Saints. Now, a lot of people have had you've seen D-tackle and you've seen receiver here. I think with the addition of Nick Fairley, I think that should take D-tackle out of the mix. While I do not believe that necessarily means that they're not going to at any point need to address D-tackle, no. But again, this is round 1, so if I'm the Saints, I have Fairley. Let's not worry about that. Receiver, is Colston gone? Yes. But I think that Drew Brees is going to be able to work with maybe, say, Leonte Carew out of Rutgers that maybe you can take at the back end of the draft, pairing with Brandon Cooks and do something like that. I think that you have to get the best talent on the board, whoever the best player on the board is defensively. And for me, I think that I may value Noah Spence over Shaq Lawson. But I'm trying to be realistic, and teams seem to love Shaq Lawson. They've, teams that have brought him in for workouts have been really impressed. He really impressed at the combine, and some teams seem to still be scared with Noah Spence off the field issues. So for that reasoning, I think at 12, you see Shaq Lawson come off the board for the New Orleans Saints. Pick 13, the Dolphins. I think that when they saw the Philadelphia Eagles move up to 2, they had to be doing cartwheels, because that gets them Ezekiel Elliott. There is not a player in this draft that I think the Dolphins could possibly covet more than Elliott. I understand that J.J. is someone who they took last year, but he's not Ezekiel Elliott. They had the discussions with Arian Foster. That went nowhere. They signed C.J. Anderson to a deal. Broncos matched it and took him back, and you lose Lamar Miller. Need a running back, especially to take pressure off Tannehill. You need a running back. Ezekiel Elliott, as good a running back as you have seen in recent drafts for some years now. I think he can be making an impact just as big as Todd Gurley did for the Rams. I think Elliott is that good, and I think he's the easy pick at 13. For me, I don't know if there could be a more surprise pick than if the Dolphins were to pass on Elliott, to be completely honest. So to me, that feels like that would almost be my lock of the draft, if you will. All right, so I see we're at like 20 minutes. I'm going to try to speed this up for you guys. I don't want to make it too long, and but I'm going to make sure I get to every team and do everyone justice. So we're at pick 14, the Raiders. Raiders have made tons of good moves throughout this offseason. They've added a bunch of pieces. Excuse me. And I think that they could be in a position here where they could look offensive line. I think that they could certainly, look to address a couple things throughout the defense. I think that they could afford to add a corner, and I think that Mackenzie Alexander is a guy who seems to be undervalued by a lot of people. And I'm not going to lie, this may be a pick where I put my own bias maybe a little bit too much forward. Yesterday, I was looking through some of Mike Mayock's work, a really respected NFL draft analyst from NFL Network, and he had Mackenzie Alexander out of the top 5 corners in this draft, and I think that's outrageous. I think that Mackenzie can be as good as any player in the secondary in this draft. I really believe that he's a shutdown guy. Look at the difference in that Alabama-Clemson championship game, first half to second half, when he was not on the field. Alabama was able to really just open up the secondary and get whatever they wanted going through the air, and I think that is in large part because Alexander was there. The one knock is no interceptions. I get that, but listen, it's something that we've understood. Shutdown corners don't get thrown at, and while I understand that there were some opportunities, and I believe the opportunities that he had were probably far less than what some of these other guys had. Now, and again, you want to see some interceptions, but the main purpose of your corner is to not intercept the ball. It's to not allow yards. Interceptions are added bonuses. And I'd much rather a guy who I know is not going to be thrown at than a guy who may get thrown at a bunch but might pick a couple off. So I really like Mackenzie Alexander, and I think that he can really improve the Raiders secondary if they do and if they go out and make that signing. 15, the Titans. They've made quite a drop back, and I still think, though, it's going to be offensive line. I think it's going to be Taylor Decker. Apparently, they didn't want to move Taylor Lewan from left to right. Take Decker. Played right before. He can handle playing on that side. And again, it just makes sure that you protect Mariota. I think that has to be key. He struggled with injuries in the first year. He's a running quarterback. You know how it goes. You just can't risk it. And also, you're going to have a big workload probably for DeMarco Murray, so you want your offensive line to be as good as possible, and I think that is why you see them go offensive line. And I think it could just be, best tackle on the board. If somehow Conklin slips, it's him. If there's an outrageous fall where Stanley fell, it's him. But I think that Decker makes tons of sense for the Titans at 15. At 16, the Detroit Lions. This to me, it's a bit tough. I still think they can go wide receiver. I initially had them going Treadwell in an attempt to see what they can, to deal with the loss of Calvin. They signed Marvin Jones, though, and for that reason, I don't think that they go Treadwell. I think they're going to hope that the combination of Marvin Jones and Golden Tate can help them. And with the arm of Stafford, maybe Amir Abdullah can take a step forward. I think they're going to look to polish up the defense. Now, they have brought Haloti Ngata back, but he was not excellent last season. He seems that age is kind of catching up to him, so I think that they added D-tackle. I think it's a Sean Robinson, the big man from Bama. For me, still the number one D-tackle on my board. Defensive tackle, to me, is the most difficult position to figure out this draft. You can see Jerron Reed at 1. You can see Robinson. You can see Rankins. You can see people leave Kimdichie up there. You can see Andrew Billings still up there. I think there might be one other defensive tackle who I've seen ranked number 1. But right off the head, that's 5 different players that might be ranked number 1 overall at the position of defensive tackle. It is almost impossible to get a feeling. And the reason why I point that out is, if these if these scouts for all these different websites, ESPN, Bleacher Report, NFL Network, cannot get any type of consensus on even who the best D-tackle is. There's not even a consensus on who the best D-tackle is. what are you going to expect from these teams? Someone's going to have Jaron Reed 1, someone's going to have Jaron Reed 5. And, if that team who had him at 1 ends up seeing that they can fill a bigger need, then Reed may fall to the second round. But you might also see Reed go within the top 15. It is impossible to figure out, but I think, for me, that's why I'm just going to go based off my rankings for D tackles. Sean is my number 1 D tackle, but I think that, the easy way to put this is I think Lions go D tackle at 16. So for me, I think the smart pick then would be Sean Robinson. 17, the Falcons. I've moved Reggie Ragland up 10 spots. I originally had him at 27 for the Packers. I moved him up to 17 for the Falcons. I think they need a guy to command their defense. He's going to come in as a rookie, and I think that he can be the leader of this defense. I truly believe that. I think we're going to see Vic Beasley improve, and I believe that Ragland can really just take this defense maybe to a new level. We know how good Julio Jones is. Matt Ryan, to me, is a still very respectable quarterback, and you have Devonta Freeman. The offense should be fine. But their defense just needs work. It just needs help, and I think they need a leader, and I think that Ragland, even as a rookie, can be that guy. Their linebacking core is weak. You get a guy who can come out, make all the calls. Love Reggie Ragland at 17, but I don't know if he's there. Ragland, again, is a guy who can – you can see Ragland go, I think, high as 10. Ragland is he's a guy that comes in and makes an impact right away. Day one, you're going to see it. So I think at 17, I think that's a great pick for the Falcons. 18, I still got Cody Whitehair. I have to have Cody Whitehair there. Now, you will see Whitehair barely ranked in some people's top 50 when you look at their big board. However, the Colts need offensive linemen, and since they're, the elite offensive tackle prospects are kind of off the board here to me, I think it's Whitehair because he's played tackle, projects best as a guard, and is capable of playing center. Andrew Luck has dealt with injuries, but not as many as their offensive line has. It's just been a mess in front of him. You get a guy like Whitehair who can be successful at all 3 positions. I just think that's ideal. You have to protect Andrew Luck because the thing is, last year, the Colts were supposed to be the lock of the century to win their division. Now, obviously, Andrew Luck went down, and that's what made it, and that's what made that tough, and that's why they didn't win the division. But the Texans are much better, and so are the Jaguars. Even the Titans are getting better. So, the Titans, the Colts used to look at those 3 teams and say, we're going to walk away at worst case 5-1 probably from this. Not anymore. Not anymore. And you need Andrew Luck at his peak performance every single week if the Colts want to be those AFC favorites that they were going into last season. They were that type of team. They need to get Andrew Luck at his best, and that's why I think a guy like Cody Whitehair with his versatility is the selection. 19, I got Noah Spence going to the Bills. I just think that he's too talented to fall any further than that. I think Rex Ryan and his brother will take a chance on a guy who can come in and be so impactful for them. Mario Williams checked out, and it was not Ryan's fault. I think that's totally on Mario Williams. He just was not being a team player. But they get a guy like Noah Spence who will step right in and handle some of the outside linebacker works of not much about dropping back, but being able to be a stand-up rusher and things like that. I think Noah Spence will be wonderful for Buffalo. Pick 20. Paxton Lynch gets into the first round. His pro day was wonderful. Teams really seem to like that, and I think that Paxton Lynch specifically might be the reason why the Jets have not signed Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think that they might just be waiting to see if they can get Lynch at 20, and I think they definitely can. And if they sign him, then Fitz may be looking for a different team. I'm going to be completely honest with you. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets drafted Lynch, signed Fitz for less money because now he realizes that they can be without him and then traded him away. Wouldn't surprise me, but I think that they take Paxton at 20. They need a quarterback. You're not starting Geno, and I don't think you're starting Petty yet. Paxton Lynch, higher ceiling than all of those guys, and also including Fitz. I think Paxton Lynch is the player. 21, the Redskins, another team that really, really needs help on the defensive line. I got Andrew Billings. I am a big fan of Andrew Billings. He is, he's really young while being really dominant at Baylor. People wonder if he can be more than a run stuffer. Listen, being a run stuffer is not bad, though. And I think that at his age and the potential for him, he can just really, really rise and become a much better prospect. And again, it just goes to the fact that I just don't know where to put some of these D tackles. I just do not know where a consensus is. I've tried to break them down, and, they don't create that much separation in my eyes, and I think that's why it's kind of like this. So as much as I see Billings going at 21, you might not see Billings in round one. And that's just me being completely honest. And I don't think you get that a lot from some of these, draft analyst guys. They try to act like, their word is his final say, and it's not. But I think that 21 Billings makes a lot of sense. 22, look, I can fly through this. Texans, great defense, got their quarterback, got their running back, need to take pressure off of DeAndre Hopkins. You get the best receiver in the draft from Laquan Treadwell. That's an easy pick. 23, the Vikings. Great defense. Stephon Diggs improved. Outstanding running back. You have your quarterback. Need a big-time receiver. You get Josh Doxson. Simple as that. Now, 24, third receiver in a row gets picked. I think it's Michael Thomas. The reason why I have Thomas there, I am not that high on Michael Thomas, but I will tell you it seems that the Bengals are. If you guys follow Matt Miller, I really suggest you should if you're as into the NFL draft as I am. He has. It seems that the Bengals have Michael Thomas as the number one receiver on their board. Wide receiver is a massive need for this team. Mohamed Sanu gone to the Falcons. Marvin Jones gone to the Lions. You do not need teams paying any more attention to A.J. Green than they already do. You need a receiver. If Michael Thomas is your number one receiver and he's on the board right there, I think there's no two ways about it. It's going to be Michael Thomas. Okay, 25, the Steelers, William Jackson the third. The Houston, I believe is that Houston, the corner, just killed it at the combine, and then I think that kind of made some people go back, check the tape, and realize that he was a lot better than what they initially thought, and I think that everyone knows the Steelers are going to be looking to help that secondary. The offense is going to be outstanding. Even with Martavis Bryant not playing, if Ben, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell are healthy, there's just nothing to worry about. It's just going to be great. It's going to be absolutely great, that offense, and I think that you need to help the defense any way you can. They are one of the teams that are out there seeing if they can secure the services of Josh Norman. That would be a phenomenal pickup. And even if they did, I think they still could go corner. I have William Jackson III being their selection. At 26, I got Leonard Floyd. Now, they're in a tough spot here, I actually think, the Seahawks. There's a couple of ways that they can go here. Now, ideally, I think they're going to want to help the offensive line. However, I'm not sure if that's really going to be an option. Just when you think about value and things of that nature, is that really, is that really worth it? Is it worth jumping on a tackle when it's not there? Maybe you just get someone later in the rounds, but protecting Russell Wilson more is going to have to be addressed. Also, no more Marshawn Lynch. That's going to be tough. You're going to want to help the offensive line. But I think that they can make an attempt at somewhat replacing Bruce Irvin by getting Leonard Floyd. He's an impact guy. I can just already visualize him being on Seattle and being a threat right away. Some people have Floyd going high as 10, so to get him at 26, I think he can be a big impact player for the Seahawks, and I think that they might be in a situation where there's no value at tackle. They might go best player available, and I think that could be Leonard Floyd. Pick 27, the Packers. They need some DT help. If Ragland was still on the board, I think that would have been the selection, but I don't think he's going to be, and for that reason, I think they address the fact that B.J. Raji has retired and go out and grab Sheldon Rankins. Rankins is a guy who a lot of people have won. People have Rankins going high as 12 to the Saints. I got him at 27. I got him at 27 to the Packers, and I'm sure at this point you guys are like, all right, just move on to the next pick, but D tackle's impossible. It's impossible to figure out. On draft day, as we're all watching, the actual teams make their selections. When that first D tackle goes, you'll have no idea when the next goes. But I think that Rankings at 27 can be a phenomenal pick. 28, the Chiefs. They lost Sean Smith. And I think that they're going to have to replace their cornerback. And I think that they go with Eli Apple. I think Eli Apple can be, I think he's a starter right away. And that's what this team needs. Last year they went Marcus Peters in round 1. This year I think they go Eli Apple in round 1, a pair of young corners who maybe could develop into a dynamic duo. and I really do like that pick. 29, I got Ryan Kelly, center out of Alabama. Now, people may be thinking, really, a center round one? Yeah. Ryan Kelly, you look at the big boards. Ryan Kelly's a top 20 player in this draft. He's just that good. Cardinals need a center. And at one point they needed an edge rusher, and if they didn't make the move for Chandler Jones, then I would have had Kevin Dodd here. But they made the move for Chandler Jones. They go out, they grab Ryan Kelly. Listen, and I'm not calling it, but I'm just saying when we get into August, Cardinals are going to be much more than the NFC West favorites. We could be talking about the Cardinals as, big time Super Bowl favorites. Maybe not favorites, but as far as contenders go, team's absolutely legit. You add Ryan Kelly to the mix. They just signed Evan Mathis to be one of their guards for the offseason. The Cardinals are making outstanding move after outstanding move. Love the pick for the Cardinals. At 30, I do have Kevin Dodd going. I think he goes to the Panthers. They need some help on the D-line. They lost Jared Allen, but they just need to be able to get to the passer a bit more. I think that they learned that in the Super Bowl by being on the wrong side of it, just how valuable edge rushing can be. Kevin Dodd can develop into the best edge rusher in this class. There's raw talent there, but he's not as raw as a Ziggy Ansah or an Emmanuel Ogbah from this year's draft. He's already made some big strides during his time at Clemson. I think Kevin Dodd would be a wonderful, wonderful pick for the Panthers. Closing out round one, number 31 overall, the Broncos making this selection. I got him going Hunter Henry, Arkansas tight end. Here's the thing, man. With Paxton Lynch not being on the board, I don't think that it makes sense to go Connor Cook, Hackenberg, Cardell. I just don't think it makes sense. You can maybe look to address some things defensively, but I think that you're going to want to make life as easy as possible on Mark Sanchez, because that's going to be their guy. You got to try to make things as easy as possible, and I think that is one of the ways to do it, having a trustworthy tight end. And I know a lot of people always say, oh, rookie tight ends, they never come through. But Hunter Henry is, to have a tight end in round one, it shows you just how good and impactful this kid can be. And teams aren't going to be able to pay that much attention to him with Demaryius and Emmanuel Sanders already. And the Broncos need a tight end, too. So for that reason, I think that Hunter Henry closes out the first round. That is the full round one mock draft. If you stuck through for the whole thing, I really appreciate it. Drop that thumbs up. Comment down below if you think I got it right or if you think I'm wildly wrong. I'll be interacting with you guys in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Follow me on Twitter at @TheKevinWalsh. We're going to be doing a live broadcast for the actual mock draft. I will probably do one more mock draft, maybe next Tuesday or Wednesday, right before the actual draft itself. So comment down below if you want to see that. But as I said in the beginning of the video, the big thing, I just want to know, do you prefer a video like this? It's going to be 40 minutes long, where it's just an all-in-round one. You don't have to click on a whole bunch of videos, or do you prefer it broken up into fives so you Tennessee Titan fans don't have to worry about who the Packers take at 27 or vice versa? Just let me know what your guys' preference is. I do really appreciate that. Hit the like button and subscribe. I will see you guys later. Kevin Walsh. See you guys later.